today we are going to work on our ambassador badge, which is dinner party. So you have probably seen us film several episodes in our chickadee feeder kitchen. Today we are on location with Jeff, the owner of Robert J. Events and Catering. He is going to talk us through what it's like to plan a large event for a large number of people and how that works. So we're going to be covering step 1, which talks about creating your menu. And the option we are choosing to do today is to interview a caterer, event planner, chef, or restaurant owner and ask them how they plan an interesting, balanced, and nutritious menu. We hope this interview will inspire you to find your own sources and possibly do your own virtual interview. So Jeff, welcome. How are you this morning?
Doing great this morning. Thanks for having me.
So when a client approaches you, how do you begin to prepare a well-balanced menu?
So what we do, really ahead of time, even before a client approaches us, the chef and I and our team sit down every year and we reevaluate our menus. We look through our menus to see what we have, what are the trends happening throughout the years, what do we look like for this upcoming year, what are the food costs of things, and we put together quite a few options for our brides and grooms if they're looking to do a wedding menu, our fundraisers if they're looking to a fundraising menu. We have multiple options for them in there, and then we really sit down and talk to them about, here you need a protein that's going to be a great protein for the price range that you're looking at, and then let them pick a starch and a veg, and then a nice salad to go along with it. We're trying to balance that out. We don't let people pick 2 starches and no veg. We make sure that they're choosing the right things. We give them lots of options to go through, and then really it's whatever their palate is.
So the event really does kind of guide where your menu options would go.
Right, yes. And a lot of times we give even the guests that they have at an event or at a wedding, they have choices as well. So they may have a choice for their protein, or if they're a vegetarian, as to which is their main piece that they want to pick out. And then the veg, the starch, the salad, those pieces are all the same for everybody.
We've discussed a little bit about knowing your audience and making sure that if you have vegetarians attending, or if you know that you're preparing for someone who has a nut allergy, to be sure that the ingredients that you're presenting them with are appropriate for that. So having an alternate protein is a very big point.
Absolutely, and we do not just vegetarian, you're right, because we have some gluten-free people that we have to accommodate. There are vegans, so we do offer different menu options for all of those. We even have a wedding coming up that almost all of them are going to be either gluten-free or vegan. So we've put together a completely different menu from what you would typically see at a fundraising or a wedding dinner.
That's going to be a hard one to pull off.
That'll be a fun one.
Yeah. Thank you so much for talking with us about that. And why don't we talk about where you source ingredients from?
Sure.
So in our Locavore badge for our seniors, they talk about how to find local ingredients, whether it be from like Cerna and Sons or farmers markets. Obviously on a bigger scale, when you're catering, going to the fish market or the farmer's market every day probably isn't a viable option. So
it's a little different for us.
How do you do that?
Because our numbers are larger, and it's not like a restaurant where we can, our pieces we're an offsite caterer, so we have to prepare here at our location and then take it to some place where there's not a kitchen.
Right.
We have to be able to hold those foods, and we need foods that are able to do so. So using local, fresh, right here grown ingredients, we cannot have a garden in our backyard that we're going to pull things from because our numbers are bigger. We're doing 100, 200, 700 people events. So a lot of those do come from larger companies like Cisco, Northern Hazrat, places like that. Although we do, for produce, we do use a local produce place that's here, and they do a great job. Now they're sourcing their produce locally when it is local. When we're able to pick those pieces from here, they do source that. However, when we get into the winter months, because we do quite a few events in the winter months, that's coming still from the United States, but it's coming from other areas where some of those pieces, people still want strawberries in December, and they still want to be able to have fresh green beans at that time. So we're making sure that we do get those pieces. Unfortunately, they just can't come from Ohio here.
No, know, that's definitely pulling fresh lettuce in Ohio in February
That's
is
tough.
not going to happen.
Yes, yes,
Well, thank you for talking with us about that.
absolutely.